All right, so we on live now. All right, boom. Let me see if I could do it. So it's kind of funny though. Once I do the YouTube, once I do the YouTube, it doesn't let me do the Facebook, and I got to see how to fix that. I don't know how to fix it yet. I got to get over these little kinks. All right, but anyway, good afternoon. Welcome to Jericho's Road new segment that we have going on today. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the things that's going on in domestic violence and human trafficking. And we're going to do like a 30-minute segment of talking about what we see and how we feel about it as people who work in as I have a non-for-profit. We work at a non-for-profit, and we deal with a lot of people with domestic violence and human trafficking. And we need just to give the views of what we see going on in the world right now, how it's increasing, and how we can get the more community involved, of how we can stop it, and the things that we can do also within our own rights to kind of diffuse these abusive relationships, and how do we get out of it. Right now, I'm working with one of our astounding members right here, who is, very, very enlightened about these things. I'm like truly honored to be sitting next to her right now. Um, it's our own very well. Why don't you introduce yourself, and you take it from there.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tamika Rawley. I'm so glad to be here with all of you today. I am a member of Jericho Road, Inc. I also work as a director of domestic abuse with a non-for-profit agency. I'm also a doctoral candidate. My work in psychology is looking at different issues within our minority communities. But today we really want to talk about and kind of shine a light on relationships and as it pertains to domestic abuse. So I'm going to turn it back over to Tony. And so we hope you will listen in. We hope that as you join us for this segment, you will join us for the next segment. And not only that, you will get someone else to come and join you as you partake of our segments.
All right, so just to touch bases, last night I was looking at separation, and it's a documentary about 6 women who have been married and who has been separated from their spouses. And what we got from it is that over 50% of separation ends in domestic violence. So, and when you consider the numbers of the multiple people that are married, 50% is a huge number. But he said 55%. So that's still a huge number. And I believe it's even more because a lot of it goes unreported. And what we want to do is we want to talk about, we want to self-reflect, and talk about the insecurities that go on within relationship that causes domestic violence and causes people to get into relationships that they're absolutely not ready for. And that's one of the things that I think that causes domestic violence, right? I know I recently sent you a clip. I don't know if you have it. I didn't set it up. Did you cue it? I don't know. But if you didn't, it's all right, it's cool. But it's something that I wanted to show and to talk about, because that's a reflection of what men think of relationships and what actually is being voiced today. And I think a lot of the things that we are voicing in this relationships is leading to a lot of disappointments and abuse. And we're on a battlefield right now where everybody's trying to figure out where they fit in. And I do a program, a father loss program, and in that father loss program, we actually talk about how the dynamics of fatherhood and husbandhood has changed over the eras. And I always say that um, the definition of fatherhood and husbandhood is an evolving definition according to the times that we're in. A lot of us males fail to evolve or fail to see the growing changes within relationships. As yourself, I can tell you are a woman of excellence. You going for your doctorate and stuff like that. So I mean, like, how, you know what I'm saying, and this is just me, like, with your current situation and the things that you do, right? How do you see yourself in a relationship, and would you date anybody less, or does that has anything to do with how you view, like, if you was to date somebody with less credentials than you, would that affect, you know what I'm saying? Because nowadays a lot of women who are, especially professionals who have PhDs, who have this, they find themselves by themselves because a lot of them haven't met the person that actually, especially men, a lot of men nowadays are not, or they're less PhD men today than they was before. Unfortunately, the tide is changing. If when I went into the master's class, there was only two guys, the rest were women. You know what I'm saying? And we find that a lot more women are in higher education, a lot more women are becoming CEOs, which is changing the dynamics of relationships. Because if the man is the breadwinner, if the man is supposed to be the breadwinner and the provider, when he can't fill one of those topics, does that make him impudent in the relationship?
Well, that's a really good question. One of the things I was thinking about as you were talking, I think a lot of times we talk about relationships, and to be honest with you, we're not even prepared and we're not ready to be in the relationships. A lot of times we come into these relationships. I think you said something about expectation. We have this expectation that we have on others. However, we have not placed, as I've learned and grown in this understanding, that we don't put an expectation on ourselves. We have two broken people, and neither one of us have done neither person has done or taken the time to actually kind of reflect, to kind of figure out what's going on within them. And then they try to come and have this relationship. So when you have two broken pieces and nothing is fixed, you're trying to put two broken things together to make a whole, which is not going to work because it doesn't fit, it doesn't connect. And so a lot of times we have these situations where he's not fixed, she's not fixed, and we're bringing all of this mess, all this brokenness into a relationship, and then we want to make it work. Now, to speak to whether or not I would date someone or be involved with someone, I think I've learned that, you know what? So me personally, I'm a very different, I think I'm a little bit more on the simple side. And so I am humbled by my education and the opportunity to be where I'm at. So I don't presume and assume that everybody needs to be in that place. Whatever you are, if you were in a place that you were striving to be your best, whether it's your education, whether it's a goal that you see yourself working towards to make a better life for yourself, then knock yourself out. I have learned to put the expectations on me, and I understand what I can take, what I'm not going to take, and what I'm not willing to take within a relationship. And so you have to know that for yourself. But I don't say that, as you just mentioned, the statistics, not a whole lot of guys are doing masters, so are a whole lot of guys doing PhDs. So
No.
I mean, that just speaks for itself. But I think that a lot of times we think that we put too much on these situations and these things. I think when you have somebody that make you feel safe, that you can trust, that respects you, and I think those are the things. I think we get caught up with society. We get caught up in all of this social media that they're telling us all of these things, and then they view this and they make this the lens for a healthy relationship when it's not, or a relationship. So, I just kind of, had an opportunity to kind of see all of that, but I take a step back. I think that, number one, you need to kind of figure out what's going on in you before you can actually look at somebody else. And I think that's something that we don't do. And I think allowing a man to be a man and allowing me to be me. If you respect me, I respect you. You do you, I do me. Allow me, as long as you're wherever you're at, if you're comfortable, as long as it's not trying to stifle what I am and what I plan to do, because a relationship is really about seeing the best in someone else. And even if that best is not for you, you want to make sure that they are successful in whatever they want to do. And I think that is the goal in the relationship.
Oh, okay. So let me tell you, right? You are like the 1%. I just that's not
That's hilarious.
that's not really that's not really what I expected or really
But you
wanted.
know what? A lot of times I do see, you know what do trouble me is when I see these images of women and I see them portray themselves, and the value that they have is if they have a big boob and they have a big this and they have a big that, and this kind of energy that this is the kind of things that you have to have. They put more focus on these things to kind of get. But then I'm thinking to myself, so you put all of that out there to attract or to entice this person. Once they get that, they don't want to stay. You angry, you upset, but what did you just do? Right. And so that's one of the things. But I'm just, you know, I
Well,
am.
well, look, like I was for these things, I was looking at this thing called Kendra G Media on Instagram, right? And she's on YouTube. So her thing is she interviews singles, and through her media, you express what you're looking for in a mate, right? And I guess from wherever you express yourself, you get responses from her media of the type of things that you specify, right? So I I had to laugh because some of these requests, it's not even, to me, it's not even practical. Like, there was this one lady, I'm looking for her right now. She said she won't date a man, she won't date a man that doesn't make six figures. And then there's another lady. She said that okay, this is it. This is it. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, you hear it?
Are the same guy? Yes, my ex-husband.
Yeah. And she,
Candid man that's financially stable, is good with children, and doesn't want more kids, to be honest. I just don't want to have any more kids. Does he have to look a certain way? Yes. I want him to be polished. I'm polished. I want him to be a polished man. Does he have to make a certain amount of money? Yes. I want him to make at least six figures. I think men say you come with 2 kids and you want a man that makes six figures. Do you want to respond to that? I make six figures. My children didn't stop me from making six figures. If you don't have children, there's no reason why you don't make six figures. Or if you do have children, you should be able to make six figures.
all right. So what you think about that? See, now look, right now the average median is $64,000, $70,000 a year, unless you got 2-3 jobs. You know what I'm saying? Where you touching them, when you touching them thousand, that means no rest, no nothing. I don't know of a lot of people making six figures. You understand what I'm saying? And then she seemed like she's very demanding. I got to show you one more. These requests are off the hook. I mean, just to say, like, so I don't know. Like, is it? Well, what did you think about that first, and then I could tell you.
I'm trying to think about. I want to use my words. I'm trying to put the right spin on my words. I think I can hear what she's saying. She's probably saying that I've been in a relationship before where there might have been a little more of a burden on me. But I think what she's saying and what she's presenting is going to do her more harm than good with trying to get a relationship, because that's not something that you want to talk about. It's kind of like, if you don't have this kind of money, then you're not good enough for me, and I don't want to be bothered with you.
Yes, exactly.
And so there might be somebody that they don't make six figures, but you don't know what's going to happen down the road with people and their, what they're pursuing. So you just close the door and then think about the type of person you get once you get that. Who's going to match you with that? Do I want that kind of person?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, when I heard it, I was like, anyway, that's what I'm saying. So, and that's just a highlight. Like, there's other demands here that was nice. There was other there was other demands here. I mean, we'll talk about. I gotta just cue it in. But what I'm saying is, the expectation field now for a lot of, and this is what I was doing, because I read a book called Toxic Masculinity, and this is one of the things that's causing violence in the home, a lot of the women are just their paychecks is just over, or what they're earning is they're out earning the men, point blank.
And so
And go ahead.
I don't think that means, so we know that there's a shift and we know that things are shifting. And like you said, probably, with education, people are taking that next step to move forward. At the same time, that doesn't mean that if you're in the household and you're making more than your spouse or your partner, that means that you demean that person. That doesn't mean that you put them down. That doesn't mean that you mishandle them and you mistreat them. A lot of times you get these people in these positions, they don't know how to respond. They're not accustomed to it. They're probably just breaking out of poverty and breaking out of all these other things. And now they're put in a position where they have a little bit of money and a little bit of power, and then they lost their mind. And now I'm the boss here. And so I don't think making money should be an opportunity for you to mishandle or mistreat something. You don't let the money make you into a monster. You make the money make you into building and blessing your community and your family.
Right. I'm saying, like, so again, T, you the 1%. All right, getting back to the story. Getting back to the story. This is causing a lot of domestic violence within the community. Like this topic, we making levity of it, but actually this is disturbing the balance. And this is one of the things that was disturbing the balance of what the new modern age is bringing in. What happens when the man can't be the sole provider? You know what I'm saying? I was talking to a young man the other day. They gave me a reference call. So I really, because I know the people, I really didn't want to get involved. I'm gonna be honest with you. So the lady calls me and she asks me a question, and then the guy's on the phone. So she said he wants to speak to you. So I couldn't say no, like, I had to speak. So he goes, and I'm gonna just tell you the story exactly what happened. So he goes in, and we used to have a men's meeting, and we still we used to have a men's meeting. And so he was like, he would like to be a part of it. So I said, okay, no problem. I said, but what's going on with you and the person that I knew the girl, I know that's a daughter. I knew a daughter. I knew these people for years. So I was like, why is it not working? So he goes, I come home, I take care of the bills, and I don't understand what's going on. So I said, well, listen, I know the person that you're dealing with. The girl that you're talking about is a paralegal and she's studying to be a lawyer. So she's seeking conversation and not just you paying the bills. I said, you probably come home from your job and then you watch football, talk with your friends, eat, and then go inside, and you're not interacting with her. You're not having no conversation. You're not even trying to read the material that she's reading so that you could develop common interests. I said, you work to get her, but you have to work to keep her. I said, whatever your father did when he was in his marriage is not the things that you can do today. You have what you call an industrial woman now who has ambitions and goals, and now she wants to be heard. And she doesn't actually need you to pay the bills anymore because she can manage that on her own. She needs your support. She needs your guidance. She needs you to interact with her. She doesn't just need you to be there, laugh, enjoy. Like, those days are gone. Like, that was the era before. And, the reason why things were like that, like I could remember, like, when dad comes home, you move out the seat, he gets the big plate, he changes the TV, and whatever you was watching is next. That era is over, like, you know what I'm saying? And we have a new era forming. So and to me, that just seemed like, I'll be honest, that seemed like that's like a self-explanatory thing, but he didn't see it that way at that time.
That's interesting you say that, because you said, as you mentioned, the times are shifting. And I think just having a conversation, I think we have kind of programmed our men to think that they have to be breadwinners, right? And so we think that once we bring home the once we pay the bills and everything is paid for, can I at least have a moment? But as you mentioned, that time has shifted, right? And so it becomes, a lot of women don't necessarily need you to do that. And so they're looking for more in it. And so what happens when we haven't developed that ability or that skill to come home and be able to kind of have that connection with our family, right? So we go to work, we paying the bills, we come home and she's saying, I need a little bit more. Her language is, I need a little bit more than that. And so he doesn't understand that. He's like, why are you complaining? And what she's expressing sounds like a complaint, but he's like, I paid the bills. Why are you on my back? She's saying in her language, I'm looking for more from you. I'm looking for a friend. I'm looking for a companion. I'm looking for talking. And really, these are the things that keep the relationship. You have to have those things to kind of strengthen the relationship. It's not just about going out, paying the bills and coming back and that's it. It's how do we build, how do we stay connected, and how do we make sure? So I'm just hearing all of that in this conversation.
Well, yeah, to be honest, before that was all that was needed.
Right.
To be honest, yeah, and
true.
that was a lot. That was a lot. That before that, you paid the bills and everything. As a matter of fact, when you watch that movie with Denzel Washington and the one that
Viola Davis, that's the name.
Yeah, with Viola Davis. I forgot the name.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. You actually see what a relationship was. He got home, he paid the bills, and the kids scattered, and then he had an extramarital relationship, and she took care of the baby, the outside baby that he had, and they had no choice because she couldn't pay no bills and they couldn't eat. They just had to wait till he come home. You know what I mean? And that was a typical relationship in those days. And that's what the seniors is telling you that's going on today. And if the man was paying the bills, the parents of the young lady would say, stay there. He's a good man. You know what I'm saying? And settle for that. Like the expectations was very low, in my opinion, of what they expected a father to be. You know what I'm saying? That was just that aggressive, stern figure. And if he didn't come home, nobody said nothing. Everybody kept their mouth quiet. And you know what I mean? And as long as that refrigerator was full, everything was all right. You know what I'm saying? The bills was paid.
Right.
That's the era that a lot of these people are coming from. So as that young man, I think that's what he was expressing that his father did. And he doesn't see nothing wrong with what's going on. He doesn't understand why his relationship is failing and she's screaming. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, we spoke to him for 3 sessions. Do I think he got it? No, but he understood what I was saying.
Right.
And what happened was the young girl got sick, and she got sick so bad, and he took care of her. And of course, gratitude steps in and everything like that. But, that's only for the moment. And when she gets in that circle of what she wants to do and he can't relate or keep up, it kicks right back in again. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem with like evolving relationships. When one is evolving and the other one isn't, it becomes a burden instead of a relationship. And that's what a lot of relationships are experiencing today.
I can truly relate to that. I understand that because you have one person, and so we're striving for different things. And I think when you have information helps you to evolve, and it helps you to make choices. So it helps you to see things differently.
Right.
You have other people that feel like maybe they don't need that information, not necessarily. And so they can still maintain on their own, but then it becomes a divide and it becomes a division. This is somewhat of a semi-positive situation because it could have looked a whole lot differently, where it could have been violence introduced to that because he wasn't making the connection and there was an issue, and you want to have an issue, now we got an issue. So we're looking at looking at something that's not so bad because it could have resulted in a domestic abuse.
So it's not over yet. And the thing is, if he doesn't get counseling to understand, because he's getting upset.
Well, hopefully his
Yeah.
upset as he's reaching out, he will get the help that he
That
needs.
he-
Because
yeah,
he's
yeah. Well,
getting, he's getting
that's why the mother
information.
reached out to me. That's why the mother reached out to me, and we was able to talk to him. But here's what the situation is. Sooner or later, and this is the statistics of these type of situations. Right? I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but
Right.
sooner or later, she's going to say something that's going to emasculate him.
Right. Yes.
And when a male is in an emasculating position, he has to do something to exercise his authority, or his authority. Well, not so much his authority, but to save his face.
You feel like his manhood was threatened, so to speak.
That, well, very good. His manhood is threatened, and once a person manhood is threatened, the only thing that he can resolve to is aggression. That's just the next step. After the emasculation comes the aggression, and then comes the abuse. You know what I mean? And
Hopefully.
I mean that and I watched something like that on the separation last night, and that's what I want to talk about. So, as in the interim, this couple started out with the perfect marriage and everything like that, and as time passed by, she became the house mom, and he became the working father. And I guess whatever he was doing at the end of the day, because he's going in and out, he began to lose interest in the marriage. The kids realized it, the mom realized it, and so they would just stay in the room not to disturb him. And so she went in and said, look, we got to talk. We can't live like this no more. And he told her to get out, because I guess he works in the office in the house too. He told her to get out. She ensued, we can't live like this. And then he got up, and like he never hit her before, but he hit her that time. Boom. He said, call the cops if you want to. Right. And she didn't call the cops because she didn't know, like, they're already in the bind. If he leaves, she can't afford to pay the mortgage, pay
Right.
what's going on. And all she would need, like she said, she was down on her luck, and all she would need is like to call the cops, and he's able to reverse the situation somehow. And now she's in trouble, and she doesn't have money for lawyers, doesn't have money for this. So she kept her mouth shut about the whole situation. And, upon her getting divorced from him, she just signed the papers. She didn't actually look at it. And she signed herself into debt, actually. And because he ran up the credit card, and she got the mortgage to pay. And so she was just in a financial bind all around. And what I mean, that's the side effects of domestic violence and the husband leaving. And especially when you have a mother who has not entered the workforce and doesn't know anything about it. She's been a stay-home mom all her time that she's been in the marriage. And that's one of the major problems. And now is to reintegrate herself. But in this case, she was able to get back on her feet. And actually, she was the one that produced the documentary that I saw last night. So that had a happy ending, but I'm sure a lot of those endings don't end happy for a lot of people. And this is why we had to reach out. But, I don't know.
So often I hear that same scenario of, the stay-home wife, and you hear the husband as the breadwinner. You hear the one family income, which is his income. You hear that instability, you hear that imbalance in the relationship, and you hear the control. You hear all of that, go ahead and leave. You hear that you're not getting anything. No one is going to believe you. And you on the other side of that, you see and you hear the fear. I don't know what to do. I've never worked before. I don't know how to manage this. I've never had to take care of this. I don't know what to do, especially when you hear that you can never do anything right. You're not smart enough. And so these, it becomes one of those situations where exactly, if you don't have a lawyer to stand and represent you, to kind of go through, and of course you have to have money to do that. A
A lot
lawyer
of them couldn't afford lawyers. They
don't have, right,
represented themselves.
that you don't have a lawyer and you get stuck with taking on debt that was not your debt in the marriage. And then they get to walk away with whatever money they were able to kind of hide or put away or whatever it is. And so it's a really unfortunate situation that, because you don't think that this is ever going to happen, right? So many times I talk to women and they're finding themselves in this situation. And I say to them, you know what? You never expect that when you got into this marriage and this relationship, that you had to protect yourself from the person that you said, I do to, right? You didn't go in with how could you go into a marriage? How do you go into a marriage with the intent to make it work and saying, I don't trust you. Like I got to have one eye open and one eye closed on you, right? That just doesn't make sense, right? And so you walk into that and then you get into this situation and whether we overlook the red flags, whether someone told us about the red flags, whatever they are, you're in this situation and you're like, I can't believe this happened. The person that said that they love me, that they would always be there for me. And this is the conversation that you're hearing all the time. Like, it's such it's something to be in those kind of relationships as you're talking about separation, because not only it has an impact on the husband and the wife, probably more so on the victim, but as you mentioned, the children who are the casualties in this situation. So
Well,
often I see that.
in response to that, you find a lot more women who are more entrepreneurs than men, and a lot of the new technology has afforded a lot of women to stay home and take care of their family too, which is a plus. But there's a lot that just don't know or just doesn't know how to reach out to the resources that's available. And I think, from my personal opinion, I think like even before you enter into a marriage today, you need to make provisions on how you can be independent and then integrate together. I feel okay. So they always talk about the man being the head of the household and stuff like that, and I guess that worked like way back when, right? But today, I believe it should be more of a corporate thing. This is just me, though. This is just me. Like I said, everybody has their own ideals. I look at it. I look at marriage as more of a corporate thing. You have to have two minds working together in order to make it work. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? And a lot of times we begin to lose respect for the person that just sits there and listens to us. You may think it sounds good in the beginning, but in the interim of when like obstacles and issues occur and everybody's looking to you for the same thing and there's nothing else coming in, it drains you. You understand?
Right.
And so that causes a strain on the relationship. So my thing is like stay-home moms and this and that is a thing where that was good when it was there, but today I think the ideas and stuff, there needs to be a joint effort. Now, this is just me. Again, like I said, just because I've seen things like this, like a lot of times, the expectations that you always have of somebody taking care of you or doing this or whatever, at some point, and especially I see it all the time in domestic violence, at some point, it may be 15 years, 20 years down the line, the person gets frustrated. They have somebody else who's working, who's doing all the things that I was just telling you, and they have more in common with that person, and they're not coming home to the one who was dependent on them and stuff like that. And it just and then they start treating that person bad. It becomes a domestic violence situation. And you know what I'm saying? All of that, you know what I mean, is just what I've seen in this type of work that I've been doing. So I definitely feel that, marriage should be more of a corporate and partnership thing than anything else.
I have seen, and as you're speaking, I'm remembering in my mind situations and scenarios where I've seen situations where just one example, I worked with someone and, she was putting her husband through law school, and, she was working in New York, living in another state where she had to drive she's taking a bus like an hour and a half away to get there. And all of this she's doing to make sure. And, she started, sharing, disclosing, the lack of connection, within the relationship. And and this was many, many years ago. And even at a younger age, I could see that, they're drifting apart. He's in this place where these people talking law and they're in school in this environment. And you don't have, I don't want to say an ambition, right? But you just can't connect to this world. Like I'm in this world all day, and then I'm coming home to this world that doesn't connect with what my end goal is. And I was like, well, you know what? Maybe, it was some information that I shared with her, but I was like, try to find some time where you guys can kind of find your strength. We're in the relationship, right? Let's try to look for that strength in the relationship, whether it's something that you guys used to do, whatever. But it was like, you could definitely see, and that's just on the lighter end of it, because again, the extreme version is probably something where to the effect of domestic abuse, like, we're not making this anymore, get out of here, the lack of, the mistreatment and all these other things that go along with it, the more up in your face approach to it. You know what? I don't care. You're out there doing whatever, but you're wherever you're going, whoever you're connecting with. And so it was just kind of one of those situations. But on the other side to that, I see a lot of situations where the men literally don't want the women to work. They are able to take care of them. And it becomes one of those control issues where they are in a position to abuse them. And of course, they have used their position and their power, their influence, and their finances to abuse them. So I've seen that.
Well, the thing is, right, I'm gonna give you a thing actually that I experienced. So we got invited to go to a women's jail in New York. I believe it's Bedford, Betty House. They call it Betty House. And so we went in there, we went in actual facility and saw, and 60% of the women in there is either had a thing with domestic violence, or they're in there because they shot their boyfriend's girlfriend. One of them shot, and the thing about it is this, like, communication is lost when your insecurities take over. You understand? And I don't think a lot of people know how to mitigate their insecurities. Jealousy is an insecurity, it's not love. But most people feel that when a person shows that type of emotion or ownership, they feel that that's love, until it becomes overbearing, where they checking your phone, they following you, you know what I'm saying? It becomes an annoying thing. But it's encouraged at the end, because in the beginning, because you feel like that person loves you and they taking their time to do those things for you. But jealousy isn't. And a lot of them, I had asked a question. So I said, what's the difference between a man and a player, right? And it's like, I answered the question and I got so sad. A lot of them, now these is women that's like 30, 40, 50 years old, like, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of them didn't know the answer. A lot of them said a man is going to be a man. A lot of them said there is no difference. One of the facilitators answered it though. And I mean, he did pretty good, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it was just shocking to see that the expectations of men was very low. Very low.
I'm glad you said that. So I want to touch base because you talked about jealousy and you talked about insecurities. And you sent me a video, right? And the guy was like, if my girl goes out and she doesn't call me 15 to 20 times to tell me she's okay. And I said, 15 to 20 times? And then if I don't have control,
how is he supposed to protect her? Because protection means that you give up your right.
You ownership.
Yeah. And that was being celebrated. That's why I shared that with you, because that was being celebrated. And I thought, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Maybe next time we could show that clip and we could talk about it.
I think I actually, let me see if I can find it. Well, I don't have it up. It's in my email, but I emailed it to myself. I thought that was, he said, if she doesn't call me 14 or 15 times or text him, I was like, after one, that's too much. Like, and then he started talking about if I don't have control, how do you have to have control in order to make me safe? It was just like, where did you get that thinking? And then the other guy that was listening to it, I really felt that I could hear his anger and I could hear his pain, right? So obviously somewhere along the line, he had a bad situation.
He been hurt.
Yes, I could hear that. Not even knowing him, never seen it before. I could hear his hurt and I could hear his pain, the need to lash out at women and kind of make this kind of attack that it's against a female and male situation. That is not every female, but I could just hear his anger and his resentment toward this whole situation. And I'm listening to him. I'm like, he had to be hurt somewhere down the line, haven't resolved it yet, still angry and still holding on to that bitterness. And now he's making other people pay.
Yeah, well, that's going to lead into our next segment for next month. We're going to look into Kevin Samuels. The ones I'm sure you've heard of him, right?
I have not. I have not.
Wow.
I have not.
Yeah,
I have not. I'm busy.
He's one of the most hated for women, the most hated men on things. So I definitely wanted to talk about it. So
I don't hate him. I just see that he's hurt. I could just see his hurt. That's just 5 minutes and listening to him, I could hear that he was hurt.
We're gonna pick a Kevin Samuel one and we're gonna do it. I've been wanting to talk about him for a while. I just never had the opportunity. But we gonna really touch on that one.
Yeah, I'm sorry that he had that pain in his heart. You know, part of life is that and part of the situation, this whole process is that, you know, you have to, you learn from the mistake, you learn from it, but that doesn't make us angry and bitter. And unfortunately, that's what I'm hearing. I don't know him. I'm just hearing, I hear a lot of hostility towards women in him.
To be honest, not everybody could recover from a hurt or a loss. Some people, that's why I say experience is not always good, because some people go down a rabbit hole and never come out.
That's true.
Yeah. You know,
that's where you need counseling. That's where you need, and that leads to the other thing that we don't do in our community is that we don't check our mental health. We don't look into resources when we have these kind of pains and these troubles. We think that we have this kind of energy that, you know, it's useless. We don't need to do it. We're resilient. However, even being resilient, there is a time where you need to kind of let go of what's happening in your life and get a different perspective, be able to put down some things, to pick up some things. And I think that's one of the things that we miss in our community because we don't see the benefit of it. And we think that we can go through all these pains and all these traumas and all these issues and, so to speak, sweep it under the rug, right? And so what happens when you continue to sweep things under the rug, right? At some point, the rug starts to, you start to see the rug rising and everything starts to spill out. And so that's what happens in our lives when we don't deal with that. And so I'm a big advocate of mental health, seeking out mental health. If you need it, it's nothing wrong with it. But, that's one of the things that we don't do to help us get to a place where we can recover from those hurts and those traumas.
Yeah, well, personally, I think, like, especially when you enter into a relationship at a young age, a lot of us still trying to find ourselves. We don't even know our purpose in life. And, you know what I'm saying? Because we don't have our own direction or where we going, a lot of times the person that we're picking, when we do find it, it's not in the direction where it was going. It was just good at the time when we was doing whatever we was doing, but you begin to grow apart. And and that's another segment I got to. I got another thing for that. I just, was just holding out for a little bit.
but there's nothing even wrong with that, growing apart. If they're not meant to be and they're not meant to walk with you on this journey, then you know what? It could be painful because you
Yeah, I
invest.
would say, yeah, okay, I'm about to
It's
tell you, like,
painful because you invest. I've been there. I know firsthand what an investment is, and to
yeah,
have to recover from a lost investment, so to speak, right?
right,
So you
right.
have to get up and you have to dust yourself off, wipe off your elbows, wipe off your knees, and wherever you find yourself, with the grace and the mercy of God, to continue down that road, and then believe that, you know what, it is what it is. You know what, it wasn't meant to be, and you learn from that, right?
Yeah, you do, Miss T. Again, I can see you the 1%. You know what I'm saying? I just so that you know what I mean.
Listen, that pain when you got to wipe off your elbows and dust off your knees.
That's not what
When you got the dagger.
When you got the dagger in your chest, people want to give it back. That's they not trying.
Yeah, no, listen, if I told you some of the pain and some of the hurt that was to the core, that you feel like, you know what, I invested, like, this is crazy. But you know what, I thank God for the ability. And so that's why I could tell that that young man was angry and is hurt. And I'm not saying that he's not justified for being angry and hurt. We have a right to be angry and hurt, but how long do we want to be angry? How long do we want to hurt? And how long do we want to give that situation power over us that we cannot, and we are so angry that we close the door and we are attacking other people? I'm sorry, I'm going off in a tangent.
No, but that's what it's so those is things like people sit down and punish themselves too for making those type of errors. And some people believe because I made such a mistake that they'll allow themselves to be abused, they'll allow themselves just to walk. Yeah, and this is where a lot of people lead into depression. And this is where depression leads into a lot of attempted cases of suicide, hurt, pain. And this is what mental illness is all about. And you know what I'm saying? And because we don't know how to mitigate our circumstances and we are not getting that support that we need so that we can work out our situation, because it takes time. It takes time for somebody, like, especially when you see a person that's just constantly angry and you don't know why, you think they're just a bitter person. It's because of the pain that they're experiencing, and they don't want to be hurt again. So they put up this wall, and this wall that they're putting up is just allowing them and lining them up just to be hurt again. The very thing that they fear is the very thing that's going to happen to them. So at the same token, what do we do to mitigate those circumstances, and what do we do to stop and bring the healing? That's where we at. And it's because of the pain that allows a lot of these people to be in circumstances where they're being abused and they don't know how to come out of it.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate, but I'm so glad that at Jericho Roll Inc. we're having these tough conversations. We're opening the door for conversation and discussion and unpacking what these relationships and what these situations look like within our community, so that we can at least talk about it, to have the conversation for healing. So I'm grateful to be here to kind of share and just talk about it, really.
Yeah, well, it's always an honor to have you, because you know you got that plentiful knowledge. So we trying to pick that knowledge that you have.
Oh, way too kind. Way too kind.
Yeah, so
kind.
definitely we are at the end of our segment today. Like I said, we just wanted to touch bases and just wanted to put the world on alert of what we're doing and bring in different topics in. And we're going to reach out to the viewers and see if they want to hear any other topics that we could talk about, so that we could touch it and work to bring healing to the community. That's what we're here to do. How do we work against these challenges that we're facing in the new age? Like I said, you know, from this Kendra G thing, I gotta send you the most of these women today want 6 figures. I don't really know too much men that's making 6 figures, and just average. Maybe they are, maybe, and the ones that I know that are making 6 figures, it's not really thinking about like just shacking up with somebody just like that.
And they don't want somebody to have 2 kids, and they want somebody
that's they have
a different agenda, actually.
They have a different agenda, right? So I don't think everything is meeting up the way we wanted to meet, which is leading to expectations that are lost. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, like, you know, because when you expect high expectations from somebody, they're going to expect high expectations from you, right? So whatever you demand of somebody else is demanding of you. And you got to be able to meet those standards when, you know what I'm saying, when you want somebody to meet your standards.
Right.
So again, I don't know, like this is a whole new, I think for me, like this is a whole new dynamic that is causing an eruption in the whole marriage and dating field that we need to fix. That I don't know how it's going to be fixed, but that we need to talk about and see how.
But I think we did the most important thing. We started the conversation, and I look forward to our monthly conversations where we invite our viewers to come in and share their opinion and maybe even chime in on some of what we're talking about, which is talking about having our healthy relationships, domestic abuse, all those wonderful things that we shy away from in our community. So I'm looking forward to it.
All right. So until next month, but I got the clip. We got to do the clip for next month.
Until next month.
Until next month. It's nice. As always, it's an honor and a pleasure working with you. Have a great one. All right.
You too. Thank you so much. And we encourage our viewers to join us.
All right.